So I was working for an insurance company. For legal purposes, I can't tell you the insurance company, but I was working for an insurance company, and I had went on mental health leave. And I went on mental health leave for about 2 months. I found out I was pregnant while I was on leave, and they denied my disability. And so when they denied it, I was like, okay, well, I gotta have some money coming in, so I had to go back to work. It forced me to come off of mental leave. I still had 3 more months left, and it forced me to come back into a toxic environment where the workload was heavy and everything else. Came back into the environment. A week after I told them I was pregnant, they tried to terminate me instantly. I sent them a nice little letter and was like, it ain't gonna happen. So then they kept pushing. They started to become a hostile work environment where they would do things that they would set me up for failure.
The best way to support the Work and Play podcast is by subscribing to the YouTube channel and by going to your favorite podcast player to subscribe and rate the Work and Play podcast. That's all you have to do. So if you are liking the Work and Play podcast, the content, the stories that we're sharing, and you know that this will help someone, go ahead and share the content to someone who could actually use it and help them on their journey to transition from corporate into entrepreneurship. Now let's get back into the episode. Welcome to another episode of the Work and Play podcast. I'm your host, Ariel Young, and today we got some family in the building. It's very rare that I get a chance to sit with family on the couch.
I'm excited.
Come on. Excited. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
So those of you guys who may not know this lovely young woman, it's her spirit, it's her energy, it's her consistency, it's her enterpriseness. Can we say that?
That's the word today.
Right. Listen, it's all of the things, and today she brought in the energy in the studio today. So I want to introduce you guys to Miss Nella Coleman.
Hi guys, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here.
That intro is unmatched. Listen, I should have recorded that and be like.
Good thing it is, so I'm going to give you the clips. But
there we go.
This is overdue.
Yes.
This is very overdue. I feel like we have, since I Am My Brother's Keeper, you guys have grown your t-shirt brand and grown it into the Airbnb empire that you have today. And we've gotten to see each other like grow as entrepreneurs from the jump, kind of. Like, so we're gonna tap into your story before I missed you, because on the Work and Play podcast, we talked to folks who left corporate America. They went through entrepreneurship, decided to become a small business owner, and the journey that entails all of the growth, all the ups and downs, right? Yeah. So you have your own story for yourself. I could do this all day, but I would love for you to introduce yourself to the folks.
Yes, of course. Hey guys, as she stated, my name is Nella, and I started out in corporate America just like everybody else. I learned the whole 40-40-40 plan and everything else, or 4-4-4 plan, whichever one you want to call it. And I went to school. I got good grades. I actually ended up getting kicked out of college, and because I just got tired of it.
Really?
I was told I was amazing at what I was doing. I went to school for international business.
Okay.
And I was just like, these people don't know much. I could learn everything and more in the real world.
What did you think you were going to be when you were studying international business?
So I went to high school for cosmetology.
Okay.
And so when I went to college, my dad made me make a plan in high school. He said, if you're going to do cosmetology, you need to be more than just a stylist.
Come on, Dad.
And so I was like, okay, well, I came back to him with a whole plan, and I said, I'm going to go to college for international business, and then I'm going to create an international chain of salons.
Wow.
And that was my plan.
Okay.
I wrote down the whole thing, went to college. Halfway through sophomore year, I was like, yeah, no, this ain't it.
It was a professors. What was the light bulb? Because it sounds like you were like, I know more than you.
That's how I felt. That's how I felt, because my mom has been an entrepreneur pretty much my whole entire life.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
She's been an entrepreneur. She's been through corporate. I watched my mom go from corporate America to entrepreneurship. And for me, it was like, yo, why do I need to pay so much money for a piece of paper signed by somebody else to tell me how valuable I am?
Whew, they say validation is for parking.
There you go. And then on top of that, that piece of paper, when you go into the corporate world, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to be in the industry that I just graduated from.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I'm not going to get paid what I really am worth.
So you start calculating all the factors, all the variables. What made you make the decision to finally leave?
An argument with a professor.
That's what it was.
It was. I went to a Christian college, so very strict. It was a dry campus, all that stuff. And my psychology professor, for our final, he placed a pencil right on the table, and he said, "Convince me that this pencil isn't here." And all I wrote on my paper was, "What pencil?" That's all I wrote, and he literally tried to fail me.
I don't understand.
Right.
That was actually, for me, that's brilliant. So what was his argument? His
argument was he needed a thesis. He needed why the pencil wasn't there and how it's a figment of his imagination. I'm like, for what? For what?
Dang, that's so deep. What's hitting me right now is the fact that, so I had a conversation with someone the other day about the delusion, some people have. And I said, you know what? We all lie to ourselves. Some people lie to ourselves to keep yourself like comfortable. Entrepreneurs lie to themselves to make sure that they stay pushing forward, right? You lie to yourself about the dream. You move yourself into that space. And I'm thinking, as easy as it was for you to say, what pencil? Blinders. I'm not gonna go through this whole spiel
of why there's no pencil, why the pencil might have been created, and why it's a figment. No.
That's the difference between a lot of like, so seriously, in the mindset way, right? The way that we spend so much time on things that don't matter. Right. I think that's kind of like where you're at with
control
it. Control
what you can control.
Come on. So tell me more. What happened next?
After that, I literally called one of my pastors because it's, once again, Christian campus. So psychology mixed with Christianity that's an explosion waiting to happen all in itself. And so I called my professor, my pastor, and we went through this whole thing. And I was just like, I can't do this. So then second semester, sophomore year, I ended up just going through the motions, not going through classes. I would do the homework and everything, but because I wasn't consistent in showing up for class, I ended up going on academic probation and then ended up getting kicked out. And after that, I was like, I don't have the fight in me to go to another college.
So you decided not to go back?
I decided not to go back. I was actually in college with my older sister. So my older sister was my roommate. She graduated, all that stuff. And I was just like, I'm good. Like, spent thousands of dollars.
Okay, you spent thousands of dollars on
my own money,
right? But it was a dream to expand your hair empire, right? Global empire. You set it down, and so we're here at a place of your Airbnb empire now, right? But I want to know a little bit more about, like, because you sound grounded in your spirituality. So when you were growing up, where was like your faith? Like, how did you?
My parents are pastors.
Really? This is so like I would never have known that. So you grew up in a faith-based house. What was that like?
It is. It definitely. I will definitely say the rumors about PKs can definitely be true. Yeah. Because when I got to college, I went and partied. I went and did all this stuff, but that's because I was in choir, from youth choir, children's choir, to youth choir, to the adult choir. I was in Bible study every single Wednesday. I was at children's church first thing in the morning, and then during service. Like it was very structured. And I remember growing up I was in private school for a little bit, Christian school, and having to memorize Bible verses, all those different things. And faith is always going to be part of who I am, but at some point I had to find my own faith. Yeah. Because growing up, I was living off of my parents' faith, which is anybody, whatever religion you are, because you don't understand the relationship that you have with whatever higher being you believe in. Yes. And so for me, I probably didn't honestly really find my own faith until my divorce back in 2018.
You dropping bombs on us, girl. You dropping bombs.
Yeah. Like, I grew up in a church household and everything else, but I didn't really fully understand what it meant to step out on my own faith until my divorce came through and I fell into a deep depression. So
you grew up with a foundation intellectually of who God was. Then you went to college and you're battling with the intellectual psychology and then the spiritual internal food that, growth that we have when we have a relationship with God. You then got married. So somewhere in between, you got married and then you ended up getting divorced and you went to the depression. I could go deep into all of these different situations.
I know.
But I want to ask you this question because I realize as entrepreneurs, our faith is the most important. And some people, I didn't grow up with faith. I didn't grow up with organized practice. Therefore, I didn't learn practice until I was an adult. Yep. Yeah. And then I learned my relationship with God. So I'm curious, how would you say, how would you wrap up like how your faith has changed, your definition of faith back then versus your faith right now?
Growing up, so when I was with my grandma, I went to a Baptist church. And then with my parents, it was non-denominational. So I'm used to the stomping and clapping, but then I'm used to a little more chill and stuff like that. But what I started to realize was the reason it was so hard for me to find my own faith and step out onto my own faith is because I was looking at the expectations of everybody else and how they feel like your relationship with God is supposed to be. And I started to notice as I got older, this is why like a lot of people have issues with going to churches and stuff like that. I started to notice as I got older, the different cliques. I started to notice like one of my friends, she got pregnant first out of all of us. She was really young and they wouldn't they wouldn't christen the baby in the church. And I was like, it was a baby out of wedlock. And I was just like, I'm not feeling that.
Yeah.
Not feeling that because that's not how God will move.
Yeah.
And so when those things started happening, and then once my divorce happened, it was a switch that was like, your relationship with God is your relationship. Stop looking at everybody else and how their relationship, stop allowing everybody else's relationship with him dictate how your relationship is supposed to be. Like, I used to think that the way that I pray is supposed to be, dear Heavenly Father, I thank you, like so formal and everything else. And I was like, I don't pray because it doesn't feel comfortable praying like that.
Yeah.
And now I'll be like, in the car, I'll be like, yo, God, what's up?
I need
it's
you.
Your girl.
Like, we need to talk.
Right. I talk to him like he one of the homies because that's how he wants to feel. He wants to feel that close to me. And so, and I want to feel that close to him. I was never that comfortable before. And I tell people, when people be like, can you just pray for me? I'll be like, look, the way I pray with God ain't your warrior prayer type John. And they be like, okay. I'll be like, look, I say John in my prayers. I say like all the
But the fact that someone asks you to pray for them, they seem to have noticed that you're close, that you have a relationship with God. Is it because of your past or because they see you still ordained in that space?
It's because of my past, but then it's also because they see that I'm more comfortable now. And I have no problem. I used to be ashamed. I used to be so ashamed to say, yo, I can't hang out because I got to go to church and everything else. And now I'll be like, I got service at whatever time. Yeah. No, I'm going to prayer tonight. Like, I have no problem saying that.
I love it. I love it. So we are at the place where, so between leaving college and getting a divorce, you know what it's like to experience downs and ups, right? When is it that you connected the dots between school and corporate?
The fact that I needed money.
Listen.
So when I was in high school, I did your little mundane type jobs. Like I was working in retail. I was a lifeguard. I did fast food and all that kind of stuff.
So you were trying to make it work.
I was trying to make it work just in high school because I was tired of asking from mom and dad for money. And then after high school in college, that's when I started to learn a little bit more because I was in a work study program.
Okay.
And so I was paying for college through the work study program, and I was working as an administrative assistant for somebody on the campus.
Okay.
And then after he passed away, I went on to, he was old.
Okay.
He was old. But he was an amazing, his name was Tony Campolo, and he was an amazing employer. He's a public speaker. He traveled around the world. He's a teacher and everything else. So
was he a big influence on you?
Mm-hmm. He was, especially with my faith. So he was a piece of teaching me that your faith is your own, and you have to learn how to water your own faith. So after he passed on, and after I left the college and everything else, I started to realize, okay, I don't want to live at home and everything. What am I going to do? My first corporate job was not until I met my ex-husband.
Okay. Because
of his mom.
She had connections?
She had connections.
So what were you doing before you met her? I
was working in restaurants.
Got you.
And I moved my way up from busser all the way up to a manager.
That's that spirit.
Look, I moved my way up from busser all the way to manager. I remember going into a Fridays one day, and I had an interview, and I sat there across from my hiring manager, and I told him, I'm going to have your position one day. And 2 years later, I took his position.
Yeah.
And then literally probably 2 weeks after I started that position, I got hired at my first corporate job.
Got you. So you said you got the job through your mom, your mother-in-law. So how did that happen?
So she worked for the bank, and she knew that I was sick and tired of working in restaurants and working late nights. I lived an hour and a half away from the restaurant I was working at, so I'm not getting home until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And she knew I was sick and tired of it, so she put in a good word for me. I did the application, I went through the hiring process, and got hired as a banker.
Okay.
And I started as a banker, and then I went to business banking. So I started working with business entrepreneurs, and then I went to mortgage and giving people mortgages.
So you're going through the process of being a banker.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm seeing underneath, right? And I was curious to know, like, where was your mindset when you got that job? Were you thinking I'm going to stay at the bank forever, or were you like, oh, I'm thinking about entrepreneurship?
I was always thinking about entrepreneurship. I was in network marketing. I went through. I always had something else because I've always been told I've been a big advocate for telling people that the person that feeds you can also be the person that starves you. And I've been telling people that for years, but I didn't learn that until 2019 myself.
What happened in 2019?
So I was working for an insurance company. For legal purposes, I can't tell you the insurance company, but I was working for an insurance company, and I had went on mental health leave. And I went on mental health leave for about 2 months. I found out I was pregnant while I was on leave, and they denied my disability. And so when they denied it, I was like, okay, well, I gotta have some money coming in, so I had to go back to work. It forced me to come off of mental leave. I still had 3 more months left, and it forced me to come back into a toxic environment where the workload was heavy and everything else.
That's what you took the mental leave for in the first place, right?
I didn't even know I wasn't even pregnant when I originally started my mental health leave. And so came back into the environment, and a week after I told them I was pregnant, they tried to terminate me instantly. And so they tried to terminate me. I sent them a nice little letter and was like, it ain't gonna happen. So then they kept pushing. It started to become a hostile work environment where they would do things that they would set me up for failure.
Are you still trying to get a leg up on your entrepreneurial career? Now, I told you about the morning meetup, the community that was created for the betterment of entrepreneurship. And we are cooking up some really cool things. Now, here's the thing. If you join today, you can actually get in for 60% of the original price. So if you join today, all you have to do is download the app, and I provided the link below so that you can join us. We have community, we have a book club, and it's the largest group that meets every single day, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. to literally get a head start on entrepreneurship. So if you're still trying to grow, you don't know what your business is going to be, but you know you want to be an entrepreneur, this is the community for you. So check out the morning meetup, click the link below, download the app, and join us today. Yeah.
And so when that started to happen, I just started documenting everything.
As you should.
I started copying everything and stuff like this. I don't recommend doing this to anybody, but after work hours one day, I went into the manager's drawer, got my employee file because they refused to give it to me. Got my employee file, and I copied everything the manager had.
What was in there?
Everything, just taking notes of, okay, well, she went on break at this time. Mind you, I'm a whole pregnant woman. I'm coming into work with morning sickness, and I can't hold my bladder, like all these different things. So he's just taking notes left and right, all these different things. But on top of the notes he was taking was everything that I excelled in. Multiple rewards from the company.
Okay.
And all these different things. So I'm like, y'all sit here saying my numbers is the reason why you're firing me, but there is nothing but proof that shows my numbers are better than anybody in my department.
So what do you think it was?
So they actually had a lawsuit because of yours truly. I'm a big advocate of the EEOC.
Okay.
So I was once they fired me, they eventually were able to get the whole thing pushed through. And so once that happened, I filed a complaint with the EEOC. And they started an investigation and found that this company had a history of not only firing minorities, but firing minorities around the time that it was time for profit sharing to come out.
Is that right? Are you serious? Okay. Keep continuing.
She's like, okay. So that happened. We went through court and everything else, and I had no problem. Look, I will, in the name of justice, I will drop a dime. Drop a dime. There we go. Lord Jesus. Drop a dime in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
When it comes to a big corporation like that. And when that happened, not only myself, but many other people that were fired before me were taken care of because of it.
That's ridiculous. And you know, the fact that you took it all the way to the EEOC, when a lot of people don't, a lot of people will give up, a lot of people will be booted out, and then they go into the spiral of self-worth because you got laid off, because you fought for your right, you know what I'm saying? And that doesn't happen a lot. Not only that, yeah, we wouldn't necessarily tell somebody going there like Carmen Sandiego into your boss's office, but the fact that you did, what I picked up from that is documenting the process, but not just in the positive way that we do on social media and entrepreneurs. It's that if you feel like you're not having a good experience in corporate America, if you feel like someone is out to get you, if you feel like someone's trying to fire you, what you did was you kicked it in the high gear and you started documenting your own process.
Yeah. Like y'all taking notes of me, don't worry, I'm taking notes on you too.
Exactly, because sure enough, they have a whole file, right, of conversations of what you've been doing, how you've been doing, right? Let's say in 2022, they're probably on your computer, your search history and things like that. And you have to make a case for yourself. It's the biggest part of advocating for yourself. Yeah,
you have to be your biggest champion. Like you have to champion for yourself. And for me, like I was so, like you said, documenting the process. I started to notice certain things, like when they would give me notices, they would type it up, and then I would ask them for documentation and they would respond to me in writing. They wouldn't respond to my emails or anything because they knew if they respond to the email, it can be tracked. Exactly. So I made sure that I was always responding to everything via email. Okay. That's so, I want to say sneaky, you know what I mean? Right. And the fact that you as an individual is fighting against this huge corporation, it only gives more ground to the fact that like
you're willing to go to bat for it. A lot of people look at the big corporations and they feel hopeless immediately. Like, okay, how am I going to fight this huge corporation? But we've had people on the podcast to talk about the EEOC many times, and I think that because you decided to take measures, we got to understand that there are systems in place to keep you protected if you go after it. So you're going through this whole situation, they fire you, and you're pregnant. So what are you going to do now?
So I was 6 months pregnant. They fired me. 2 days before they fired me, I got kicked out of my house. I was living with my family at the time.
2 days before?
So 2 days before I get kicked out of my house, I just came from a friend's book signing. My friend had just released their book, their first book. It was amazing. Got home. 2 hours after I got home, got kicked out the house. So I trucked myself back down to Baltimore, not knowing where I was going to go, not having nowhere to go. 6 months pregnant. I go back to work that Monday morning. By the time 1 o'clock rolled around, they called me into the office and told me to pack my stuff and get out, and they would collect my badge.
Wow. Were they going to pay you severance?
They
It was straight up clock stops here.
Yeah, clock stops here. Your benefits stop now. The moment you walk out that door, your benefits are going to get canceled. So I didn't have health benefits. 6 month pregnant woman. And I'm just like, a lot of people in that situation, they would have been like in tears. I felt relief. I felt the biggest weight lift off me. And the reason being is because during that whole process, I said, I was praying, God, if I'm supposed to be here, make this place a place where I can be. If I'm not, push me out of here, because I'm not going to leave on my own. I knew I wasn't going to leave on my own. So he pushed me out. He said, get out. And when that happened, that's when the hand that feeds you can also be the hand that starves you. Clicked for me. I always tell people that. And then I finally felt it. But then at the same time, I was like, now I can do my own thing.
Exactly.
I ain't never going back to no 9 to 5.
I was just going to ask you if that was the moment for you where you said, you know what, I'm not going to go back to a 9 to 5. Sure enough.
I have not been back to a 9 to 5 since.
Were you also in MLM at this time?
Yes.
Okay, so did you go full time in MLM now?
I went crazy.
Okay. So before we talk about you going full time, and I think all of this is going to culminate in how you actually manage your business now, because there was a time when I was in corporate where I was raised in corporate, so I didn't have any sales. I wasn't even a sales role. It was a straight up data analytics role. I was not clocking in, but coming in, coming out. And I said to myself, I want sales like skills. I didn't have that grit. I didn't have that push, that desire to go out and eat what I kill, to track my numbers. I didn't learn that kind of stuff until much later
down the road. Right.
So now as a coach, I realize that you have to develop that skill set before you leave. What was it like? So before you went full time, there's also this this concept that you were part-time in MLM and then you went full-time. So what was it like before you actually left to be managing your side hustle and doing your full-time job at the same time?
So I wasn't really part-time when it came to the MLM.
Okay.
I was still full-time.
You were full-time MLM, full-time job?
Yes. So I had my 9 to 5 and I looked at my 9 to 5 as my investor. My 9 to 5 handled all the trips that I needed to take for my MLM when we had conferences and stuff like that, and handled getting any type of documents or anything that I needed for the business. That's what it handled. And then at my lunch break, I was making phone calls. I was showing people. I was sending out videos and getting people connected with the business, whether they just wanted to be a customer or whether they wanted to be a partner.
What was the product?
So I worked. I was with World Ventures.
Okay.
I'll travel.
Oh, okay. Yes. So now we're connecting the dots of your travel industry.
Yes, I love travel.
Okay.
I love to travel, even before I was a part of that. So a young lady that actually worked at the insurance company, she was a part of it.
Okay.
And I started to notice, because she sat 2 rows behind me, I started to notice she was very rarely at work. And so one day I see her on Instagram and she's taking pictures in Paris while I'm sitting at my desk crunching crunching on that keyboard. And I was mad. I was like, okay, wait a minute. She was just in Aruba last month. Now she in Paris. What is this girl doing? Because I know she make the same amount of money as I do. So when she came back, the moment I walked in that door, I went right over to her desk and asked her, what is it you're doing? She sent me the video. I sat at my desk and watched that video. And as soon as I finished that video, I told her, send me the sign up link, and I signed up right on the spot.
Wow.
Because I was like, that's the life that I want to live.
Yeah. What was it that sold you?
I saw her living the experiences. And the fact that I personally knew her it validated it for me. So it was like, and I already knew I wanted more. I didn't know what that more was. I didn't know what it was going to look like. And I feel like a lot of people in life, whether they're transferring from corporate to entrepreneurship or whatever the case may be, just because we are drowning in a sea full of sharks, somebody throws us a lifesaver. Just because that lifesaver is not red and it's blue, they're not going to take it. And they will rather let the sharks eat them.
Ooh, that's a word.
I'm not that person. You throw me a lifesaver,
I'm gonna take it.
as long as it aligns with me and where I'm trying to go in life, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
Even if it's only for a short period of time, I'm still going to take it.
Yeah.
So that's how that started.
The thing that you said that's so powerful is as long as it aligns. A lot of people don't know what they want.
Right.
So in this space, in this moment, you're a full-time employee. You have, this is before you got into MLM, so you're a full-time employee, and maybe you have some other things on the side. How did you know what you wanted? How did you know travel is where you wanted to be? Like you said, you wanted more.
I didn't know travel is where I wanted to be, but I knew, and I still know, the vision I have for my life. So because I know the vision I have, I'm able to, that doesn't work. That's not taking me where I want to go. And I can easily discern. And there have been times along the path where I trip up and I might think something's the best and it ends up not being the best. But most of the time I'm able to say this doesn't align with where I need to go.
Got you.
And if I'm not sure, I pray on it. And then if something is still on my mind like a year later, then more than likely I need to take that step with it. So that's how I've managed being able to, and of course my vision has gotten clearer down the line of what I want. Like I could tell you, I literally have in my notebook, probably about 5 pages of what my house is going to look like. Down to the type of marble that's going to be on there and on my countertops and everything. And that's the type, I think that's where people end up missing it, is that their vision is not clear enough. So they don't know what they need in order to get there.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Dia. Shout out to Dia.
Shout out to Dia.
I was talking to Dia and Jennifer J.
Yes.
And we were talking, and I told them, I said, so many people, they want the rooftop to the house, but they don't know what goes on the foundation. You can't get to the roof without building the foundation.
Come on, you preaching. So
I have to understand what my vision looks like. I have to understand that stuff in order to get there.
Yeah.
And that's how I did it.
I love it. One of the things that I recognize about MLM now, more than I did when I first learned about what it was, because, you know, MLM has its own...
Everybody says it's a scam.
Yeah, but what I really understand is, like, it's like a incubator of mindset. You know what I mean?
MLM, when it comes to sales, that's the best place you can get experience for sales. That's the best place for personal development, because it's unmatched. I don't know a single entrepreneur who has not gone through MLM.
Many successful entrepreneurs, because they have that grit, they have that mindset. And so that's what I was curious about. As you talk about your vision, you have the foundation, you have the roof, you had the willingness to take the raft and just take me where I'm supposed to go. I'm seeing the first building block, or one of key building block, being your mindset. So when you got into MLM, what was the shift that happened for you?
So I've been in and out of MLM my whole life since I was 16 years old.
Oh.
And I've watched my mom go through it. So I helped my mom do Avon and Mary Kay and Melaleuca, all those companies. I went through my own process with figuring out what company fit me and suit me.
Yeah.
And they did it. Even though I had a cosmetology license, even though I was a makeup artist, Mary Kay just wasn't me. And when I went into WV, the community fit who I am as a person. And so when that happened, it was just kind of like, oh, this just flows. It's a groove. And yeah, that's where I'm sorry, I just went on a whole tangent.
No, I loved it. Let me tell you why I liked it, because there's a balance with your story. You know what I mean? It's this strong spiritual journey, but then there's this earthly, if I could say, like this earthly process of figuring out what you want to do, testing out your skills and abilities, seeing what communities fit your spirit, trying out what type of industries you want to be in, going to school. Like I'm loving that.
Yeah.
And so it sounds very intentional. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you're saying, like, you know, you're testing out these different parts of who you are, and then you landed on travel. So everything is ordained at this point.
Pretty much.
So it just makes all the sense.
Yeah. And I love to travel. I already loved to travel. So it was just like, oh, I can travel and at a discount?
Let's
I ain't
go.
say nothing but a word. Like, that's how I felt.
So how long were you in the travel industry? So you went full time, and like you took off from there?
I took off. So I was already making some money from it while I was with the insurance company.
What does some money look like?
Some money looks like I was able to pay a couple bills a month.
Okay.
So I was making some money, and then when that dropped off, it was like, I have no choice. I started seeking out mentors, and you know, they always say when the student is ready, the teacher will
appear. Yes.
There you go. And that's exactly what happened. I found one specific mentor that he knew how to talk to me. He knew how to piss me off or piss me on, to the point where he would, like, when you doubt me, that's the worst thing you can do for yourself, but the best thing you can do for me. When you doubt me, you're going to get proven wrong. When you doubt me, I'm like, watch this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And David actually did that to me once.
Really?
So
what did he do?
So with the Airbnb course, I was like, we're going to get this whole course done in 3 days. We're going to record everything, And he was just kind of like, are you sure? Like, because that's a lot. You have to do this, you have to do that. Are your copies done? And this, that, next thing. I'm like, and then so J Star, he's saying here like, maybe David's right. We need a little bit more. I'm like, no, y'all not about to sit here and tell me I can't get this done.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I got every single thing done. I was up to wee hours of the night. Like, we got all the recordings done, and I was just putting everything into place. And sure enough, that week I was a little late, but I got it done that same week.
I remember. Like, it was so fast. You were like, you said you were going to do it, and you know, a lot of, if it's let's say we know 100,000 entrepreneurs, we know 10% of them is going to like do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
And you finished it so fast. So like, how did you feel about the final piece? I
was definitely proud of it.
Nice.
I was proud of it. And that literally, that's what drove me. I was like, it always makes me feel good when I complete something, because I won't lie. I have a history of saying I'm gonna get things done, and I never get it done. Like you said, we can know all these entrepreneurs, and probably only maybe even 2% will really only get
generous.
Generous. Maybe only 2% will get it done.
Yeah.
And get to where they say they're gonna be.
Yeah.
And so, and then on top of that, I think it's the fact of David is a big brother to me. And so when he said, like, when he gave me that little doubt, I was like, oh no.
You have to crush it.
Yeah, I gotta kill this. So, but like I said before, I'm very analytical. So I mapped everything out. I wrote down what each module is gonna look like, what's gonna go into each module. And then I was like, okay, each module, I have it mapped out, 9 modules technically. But 8 modules where you're learning, 1 module that has the ebooks in it. And I mapped all those out. I broke them down into their lessons. And then once I did that, then I was able to go make the slideshows. Mm-hmm. And once I did that, I was like, all right, let's get it done.
Yeah.
And we did.
So the first course that you ever did, you mapped it out. What was the first result? I remember watching you build it out, talking about it, and taking off. Mm-hmm. But what was the result that you were getting your clients in the beginning?
So in the beginning, it was not what we expected. And a lot of times, a lot of people get discouraged with that. They see, okay, well, the sales aren't coming in the way I wanted them to come in, or whatever the case may be. And we had to keep pushing. Mm-hmm. So we kept it together. We made some modifications here and there. We started putting in processes and things of that nature. We started putting in systems. Shout out to Jennifer J.
Yes, yes.
And once I started learning what systems needed to be in place for the course, I was like, okay, I learned how to build out an email sequence and everything, and I really dove into that stuff. But what ended up happening is I pushed so hard, I ended up burning myself out.
Oh, trust me, I know. I know what that is. So you had a finished product, mm-hmm. and it wasn't getting the results that you needed. Plus, you burned out.
So then I really wasn't pushing the product.
Yeah.
And I had to, this is where that discipline comes in, where I fell off of my social media, mm-hmm. and not posting like I used to post, mm-hmm. especially with my TikTok. That was my
that was taking off.
Yeah, that was my fastest growing platform, mm-hmm. was my TikTok. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, I don't feel like it today. I don't feel like doing this today. And once that mentality started to kick in, and that's where the mindset has to be strong. Yeah. Once that started to kick in, I started to fall into that depression. Mm-hmm. And I started to distance myself from everything and disconnect and everything else. And I am literally, it's probably been about 3 months, I'm literally just now getting myself back to a good pace. Yeah. And that's when I had to start therapy. I had to start therapy because I'm like, this isn't who I am. Mm-hmm. I don't recognize this person. Wow. He doesn't recognize this person. And I don't like it. Yeah. Like, mentally, I'm not here. I started losing weight and stuff because I was stressing out so much, mm-hmm. and everything. And I was just like, I ain't rocking with this. Yeah.
There's 2 things that I want to dig into, and my mind goes into these spaces. So y'all know, we're going to get to both of them because it's going to come back to me. And I'll say that there's 2 things are the fact that you created something, right? Mm-hmm. And I do want to dig into the vision of like how you wanted to help people, because I think as entrepreneurs, the first creation that we have, sometimes we create it and it feels like, this is a masterpiece, but then it falls flat because maybe we're not serving people, maybe we're not clear on what the need is, maybe we're not clear on the result. So I do want to get into that process. But I also want to commend you for your transparency, because to keep fighting, on the surface we got motivational speaking, and we got like, you got to do it when you don't feel good, right? And that's the narrative if you push through, if you do it like you don't feel good. But what's the story about if you don't?
Yeah. I literally, even in those don't feel good moments, there were days where I was like, look, I need my bag of Cheez-Its, mm-hmm. and baby girl is going to go in her room, and she's going to play with her toys, watch TV, whatever the case may be. Like, I was very structured with her, mm-hmm. with my time. There was like, she would wake up, have breakfast, we would watch Gracie's Corner or whatever the case may be. She would have her lessons for the day, mm-hmm. and learn her numbers, learn how to write, whatever the case may be. Like, I made a curriculum for her. And even with that, I fell off. Okay. Because I was just like, I was fighting to get myself out of bed. Yeah. Like, I would literally, and I would tell my therapist, I'd be like, I feel like I'm just kind of just getting by. Yeah. And it's just like, how when you get tired of a job, mm-hmm. and you do just enough not to get fired, but not too much to the point where they expect more from you.
Yes. Like, we're not going to be above and beyond.
Right. Yeah. And that's where I was at.
That's so huge. I keep going here, and I'm like, honestly, this is the first time we've like got a chance to like sit down, like we're fans, but like this is the first time we've got a chance to sit down outside of the squares. And we both seem to have gone through like growth emotionally, right? Mm-hmm. I know exactly what that feels like, right? But I feel like some of the things that keep me sane when I'm in the most depressive states is this system. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you what I mean, and you tell me if this resonates with you.
Okay.
Because I have also gone to my like just cashews, watching TV, and I realize I feel better.
Right.
But the times where I had a conversation with my coach. Mm-hmm. And I said, you know, I'm checked out. I don't feel happy. I'm like literally in all the worst, like I said, intellectually.
Mentally, yeah.
But I have this system where I still wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I still do these things. I'm just going through the motions. And I told her, I said, you know what? I have this thought that if I just keep doing the thing, then one day
it'll click back.
And I'll have the muscle memory. I feel like that for me was true and false. Mm-hmm. Because it took for me to finally break, for me to actually see the light. Mm-hmm. But I think that consistency is what kept the lights on. Mm-hmm. Even if, you know, the soul was like...
There's no lights in the soul, but the lights are on.
You know, I'm still functioning, but it's like I had to break down in order for me to get the true breakthrough.
Right.
What do you see as like, you know, having a system or to keep you in the daily habits versus... Mm-hmm. just letting it go, right. Giving yourself those Cheez-Its days. Like, mm-hmm. Where do you see, looking back on it, now that you've kind of seen the light and you've been out for 3 months and you know what's a little bit more like mm-hmm. yourself again?
Right.
What do you make of having a system or doing the thing anyway or just giving yourself a break? Mm-hmm. What do you see?
I think even though there's no true thing as balance, you have to know how to juggle. Mm-hmm. So for me, I do have a routine. I do have, like, I wake up at a certain time, I journal, I read, I do certain things, especially as a single mom. Like, there's certain things that I get done before she wakes up so I can just have me time. Mm-hmm. And then there's things like I have to learn how to intertwine my day with her, mm-hmm. Because she's home 24/7. And so for me, I had to learn. I sat down one day after speaking with one of my coaches. I sat down one day and I said, okay, I need to write out what it is that I expect from my life. And this is how my vision for like my house got clearer and all those things. I had to write down what I expect from my life. And then I started to write down what needs to be eliminated from my life. I started to write down what are my non-negotiables. And I like to call my non-negotiables my pillars. Like, I will not, like, no matter what, I will not break away from this. Yeah. And then once I had those bare pillars, mm-hmm. okay, I'm okay with letting this go for a little bit. Okay. I'm okay with letting that go for a little while. Mm-hmm. It's okay to deteriorate. It's okay to steer away from what you feel like is plan and structure and everything else. Because sometimes your body gets tired. Yeah. And your body will surely tell you, if you don't listen the first time, okay, you're not listening, I'm going to sit you down. Yeah. And my body has done that. Mm-hmm. My body has sat me down in the past and been like, you're not listening, so I'm going to make you listen. Yeah. And so I have to be, when I start to feel that, that's already okay, what needs to be taken off my plate? What needs to be cleared off? And it's not, so I'm sure you've seen the whole thing with Stormy, the plate. Yes, vibrations. Yes, the vibrations mm-hmm. and everything. But with that, for me, it's not necessarily talking about the high vibrations, but what's on your plate. Sometimes we have to be okay with clearing things off our plate mm-hmm. and not allowing other people to put stuff on our plate. Yeah. And I was and sometimes I still struggle with not being able to say no, mm-hmm. especially when it comes to family and everything else. And I just pile stuff on my plate, and I don't know how to
say no and take it off.
And clear it off. Mm-hmm. And so that taught me, I started to learn how to set my boundaries. I started to learn how to set boundaries. I started to value my energy a lot more and the energy that's coming in. Oh, I feel like this is starting to be a petty argument. I'm good. Yeah. Cut it off. And those things started to help me to get back.
Come on. Balancing the energy. Can you share your 4 pillars? Or not to say, you didn't even say 4. Yeah. Can you share your pillars?
So my faith, that's the biggest pillar, is my faith. So being in church, whether it's physically going to church or whether it is online, because my church is 2 hours away from me, so sometimes that drive ain't happening.
Yeah.
But I make sure that I'm in service. I actually started serving at my church, and you were talking about how I started helping people when it came to the course. And I feel like that's one of the biggest things is I haven't been serving other people. I haven't been a servant of God, and I haven't been a servant of my industry. So I started to minister to single moms at my church. And so that was one of the things is, look, this is a definite, this is a non-negotiable. If I say I'm doing something for my church, period. Yeah. No ifs, ands, or buts. So when we do like food drives and stuff, I'm there. When we do like Toys for Tots, I'm delivering those toys. Yeah. And stuff like that. So that's one of them. The next one, morning meetup, is a non-negotiable for me. Even if I take a break from being physically on the calls, I'm still involved in the community. I'm still going to the events and things of that nature. So that is a non-negotiable for me because it just is. Yeah. Reading, making sure that I'm getting some type of personal development, some type of
nourishment.
Yeah, there you go. Nourishment for my mind. And then working out. So pretty much literally body, mind, spirit. That's how I kind of
stay connected. I love that. Okay, one more question.
Yeah.
So you went through your period, right? And sometimes we can be so disconnected from the real person that we are. You know, the high vibration, the positive, the hard worker. When was enough enough? When did you say, okay, gotta get off this couch, or okay, gotta call a therapist? Like, what was the point where it was like, okay, I'm ready to make a change?
When I didn't have the energy to do stuff with Anaya, my daughter. She would want to go out to the park, and I didn't feel like going to the park. She would want to go to the library. I don't want to go to the library. I felt myself getting short with her and things of that nature. And I didn't want her to feel how I felt growing up, where I felt like I was a burden. I felt like, you know, my feelings aren't being heard and things of that nature. And then one day she came to me and I was on the phone. I was doing work, but I was just kind of like laying around. I was on the phone with a property manager, and she came to me. She placed her hand on, Mommy, can you get off the phone, please? And when she said that, and she's only 2, I was like, all right. And I had a conversation with my therapist about it, and she said, but the thing is, like, you feel like you're not giving her the love. And every once in a while, we're going to fall short. And I am that person that doesn't give myself grace. I don't give myself grace in a lot of areas of my life. It's like I have this expectation. If I don't meet it, I have a problem.
Cracking whips.
Right. And I had a conversation with my therapist about it, and she said, but you don't realize you've created a safe enough space for her to be able to come to you and let you know, Mommy, I want to spend time with you. And that, when she said that, I was like, okay. So when that happened, I started to do different things. I went to the dollar store and I started getting a whole bunch of arts and crafts stuff for her. Okay. And we started doing arts and crafts. I started getting more in tune. I don't know if you've ever seen, like, on my Instagram, I started back in the kitchen again.
Let's go. I remember Chef Nella.
Yes. I started back in the kitchen. So she getting all different types of lunches, like all different dinosaur cut sandwiches and heart-shaped sandwiches and all different types. I went and bought like silicone smiley face pancake molds. Like, she's getting all the works now. Yeah. And people be like, man, that girl, she eat better than me. And I'm like, look, this is how I want her to enjoy her life. no matter what I'm dealing with and everything else, like my 2-year-old has wiped my tears before. And she should never have to do that. That's how I feel. A lot of people might be like, oh, that's so sweet. But my 2-year-old should not be sitting here telling me, Mommy, it's okay. Mommy, stop crying. Mommy, wipe your tears. And when she started doing those things, I was like, I can't be in this mode anymore.
Yeah. Was it a snap out of it, or
it took a gradual moment. It was gradual
because you got the arts and crafts, and maybe you was like, okay, maybe some more couch time, and then eventually you got back into it. I
started getting back into it.
That's big. I think that even you saying because it's one of the things that I'm realizing for single parents. This is all a journey, right? So we talk about leaving corporate America. That's one shift. That's one transition. Going from single woman to motherhood, that's a whole other shift. That's a different identity. That's a different go get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have another person that's counting on you, right? So I'm also looking at the motivation or demotivation or whatever someone might use it as an excuse of how people's lives change when they have kids. Because you could very well just blame your kids for your life being terrible and continue down this negative spiral. But your daughter, Anaya, has been a light.
She has. She saved me. She has literally saved me. I went through a very deep depression while I was pregnant. I went through an even worse depression during postpartum. But in that time, I have learned her. I used to cry to my therapist all the time. I feel so disconnected, because I would look at my friends and they'd be so in love with their kids. And they'd be taking all these pictures and they'd be doing all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't feel that. Yeah. But it took time. And I'm still learning. And I definitely went through that phase where I resented her because of the situation with her biological father. Okay. I definitely went through a phase of, I feel like my life is over because now I am single and I got a child and this, that, and the next thing. I went through all those phases. But then I realized I had to take accountability for, she didn't ask to be here. She asked to be on this planet. I had to take accountability.
It's that accountability for me.
Girl, that accountability be real.
Oh my God. I think that is if not but it's the cornerstone of success in anything, not just monetary success, spirituality, relationship. Yep. You got to take accountability for what you bringing into this thing, baby girl. Yeah. Because we can blame all of these things that are on the outside that have nothing to do with what's really going on. And when we change what's on the inside, we change what's on the outside.
Things start changing outside.
Come on. So thank you.
Yes.
I am honored that you gave me as much as you gave. As you gave us as much as you gave, because that part of the journey, we don't talk a lot about it. Because it's one thing to say get up when you don't feel like it, but what does it look like when you're down?
You really don't feel like it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how long is this supposed to last, God? You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it lasts for years for some people before they snap out of it. So I'm really, really grateful for you sharing that piece. I did not forget, because now I'm curious about your next iteration. You built the first course. You learned a couple things. It was, I call it my iPod, the iPod version 1, right?
Lord Jesus, that thing was a monster.
so you learned your lessons from the first iPod, right? And then you created something new. So when did you learn, or when did you piece together what was missing in that first course to truly what could serve the people in the next version?
So when people started asking for more, so we did the research and everything. We asked people what is it that they want to know when it comes to the Airbnb space. And then we started to really dive into, we took probably, before we got our first property, we took probably about 5 master classes, 5 courses, and then even took some more after we had already started our business. And there were things through each course that we didn't learn in the first, or we never learned at all. And there's things that we had to learn for ourselves by trial and error. And so we really just sat down and we listed out those different things on top of what our following gave us as far as what they want to learn and everything else. Now we just this past month we partnered with somebody else who has an amazing following, and he came to us and he was just kind of like, you know, I don't feel like building out a course. And when he said that, and he was like, you guys already have a course, let's partner. When he said that, we were like, yes. But then as soon as we said yes, I was like, what we have now will not be able to handle the capacity. It does not have the capacity to handle what he's about to bring our way.
Okay.
His reach is beyond crazy. But for me, I was just like, our back office is going to crash in 2.5 seconds.
That's a real realization.
Yes.
So what did you do to get up to speed?
We changed systems altogether. We moved the course from one platform to a whole new platform. I redid the email sequence. We added in like a community. So we built an actual community to go with it, because we have to make sure that we're bringing the value for what they're paying for.
Yeah.
So we built a community. We're starting to plan out events and stuff for 2023. So not only are we thinking about right now in Black Friday and Christmas and all those different things, we're starting to think about next year and how we can make sure that this is the best community and the best thing that anybody will ever touch when it comes to corporate housing and not just Airbnb.
Come on. Corporate housing. So now you're in the space of corporate housing. Okay, so let's talk about the actual course. So because now that we know the building blocks of who you are, every course, it doesn't matter who's teaching whatever the topic is, it's always going to be unique to the person. So as you had your old curriculum and you have like your 2.0 or 3.0 version, what are some of the things that you uniquely put into the program that really make this thing take off from a not just Airbnb but corporate housing program?
One, like you and I had talked about off camera, is the pivot for our business in general. So our business, we were solely focused on Airbnb. We were solely focused on travelers and things of that nature, and we started to look at the market and we were like, this is so much bigger than just tourists, and we can really tap into a different thing. Now that aspect of it, we are still learning ourselves, so of course we're not going to put it out until we feel like, okay, we really have a grasp on this, we have success in this, and then we are able to help others. But when it comes to the Airbnb space and corporate housing in general, it's still the same courses, it's still the same lessons, but we have implemented a lot more quizzes. Well, we've implemented quizzes in general, because the first one didn't have any quizzes to make sure that you're actually grasping what we're teaching. So that way we can measure and have our KPIs. And so if people are passing these quizzes with flying colors, is this too easy? Are we missing something? Or if they keep failing, okay, do we need to break this down even more?
Okay.
So there's implementing quizzes. Like I told you, we implemented the community. We started to build out an investment platform. So for people who may not be able to put $10,000 into their own Airbnb, okay, let's get 10 of you, and you guys can invest with us.
Okay, so now if they can't do their own Airbnb, they invest $10,000 in you. You open Airbnb.
Individual 10 people individually might be investing only $1,000.
Okay,
and then we go out and we do it, and they get their return.
That's good. That's really, really good. So, I like it. Okay, that's a dope structure, by the way.
Thank you.
Because obviously you like it. I gotta confess, Airbnb was one of the first things that I did when I quit my job.
Yeah.
I had 3 properties.
What?
Yeah. Listen, 2 of them were rental arbitrage. One was property management.
Okay.
And I got just.
It wears you out.
It was not a thing for me. I realized I didn't quit my job for this because I wasn't passionate about that, right? I basically put myself out of the fire into the frying pan. And there were so many things that systematically I learned about it, but I didn't have the passion enough to continue. So it was definitely a failure in the books, right? Because I had to let those things go.
Yeah.
It was also tied to a relationship, so it was a failure 2 times 2. You get what I'm saying? You know, ooh, goodness. So that's why I love you and Jay Star, because y'all have figured out, at least as of right now, how to keep that heartbeat going, which a lot of people are trying to figure out. So in the Airbnb course, like specifically, what are some of the breakthroughs that you have as it relates to, I don't know, cleaning or figuring out how to get bookings or like what are the key breakthroughs that people go through to get them from like quitting to the other side?
Cleaners is probably one of the biggest headaches a lot of hosts go through because it's always going to be your highest turnover. Because in the beginning you have to learn what your expectations are, and that's where I feel like a lot of people fall short. Is they go hire cleaners, but they don't understand what their expectation is for their property to look like. So I might hire a cleaner, but this cleaner doesn't know how to stage. Okay. So then the property doesn't look like the pictures, and then the visitor, the tourist or whoever, the traveler comes in and they're like, this isn't what I paid for, and then it becomes a whole cycle. So we set expectations. We teach them, look, this is how the property should look every single time somebody checks in. I don't care who it is. I don't care who is cleaning this property. If you have a team, I should not be able to tell the difference between you cleaning and somebody else cleaning. So that's one of the biggest things. We put into place a penalty system. So if you're late, you're going to get penalized for it. For the cleaners. Oh, okay. If you're late to showing up for your cleaning, you're going to get penalized for it. That's huge. If we are getting below a certain star rating, you're getting penalized for it. If the cleaners, if they rate cleanliness a 3-star, we have an issue. Cleanliness should always be at a 5, especially in the times that we're currently in. So there's many different things. And on the flip side, if you're getting nothing but 5s, then you get a reward. You get bonuses and things of that nature. If you're always on time, if the guests have something specific to say about the cleanliness or whatever, you get rewarded from us. Okay. And we are very big on making sure the relationship is balanced in our team and they don't feel like we don't fight for them.
How do you do that?
So we've had people that try to complain about all different types of things. But this is why documentation is so important. So we have our cleaners from the moment that they walk into the building. Before you start cleaning anything, you videotape the whole place. Okay. From top to bottom. And then when you're done, you videotape it again. So that way we have what it looked like when the last person left and what it looks like before the next person comes in. So that way if something happens, we can pinpoint exactly where it happened at and who it happened with. That's good.
That's a really, that's a hack.
Yeah.
I definitely wasn't doing that. Okay.
And then a lot of times, I feel like a lot of people, so this is a big misconception, and I know I'm going to ruffle some feathers up in this place. A lot of people feel like Airbnb is the real estate industry, and it's not. It's hospitality.
Come on. That's big. That's a huge mindset shift. I'm in real estate.
No, you're not, especially if you're doing rental arbitrage, you are not in real estate. The only time Airbnb and real estate will touch is if you personally own that property and you went out and bought that property. That's the only time you'll be in real estate, which is the most difficult way to do it. But outside of that, if you're doing rental arbitrage, if you're co-hosting or whatever the case may be, you're in hospitality. I'm sorry, I gotta keep saying it because the customer, the person you're serving has 2 different needs. If you think you're in the real estate industry, you're way off base if you're supposed to be serving the customer in hospitality. And your mindset, and that's the issue, is a lot of people, they go in thinking, I'm an Airbnb, I have a real estate company, this, that, and the next thing. Firstly, if you filed it as real estate, you're paying way too many taxes. Secondly, if you are thinking it as real estate, you're not going to be doing customer service the way that it should be. So when we are handling our guests, I'm thinking about how does the Intercontinental handle their guests. I'm bougie. So that's where I like to stay. Anytime we go somewhere, we stay. If we're not staying at somebody's Airbnb that we know or whatever the case may be, I'm staying at the Intercontinental. And I've had experiences where I left one hotel to go back to the Intercontinental because I know the experience, no matter what city I'm in, is always going to be the same.
That's dope. Okay, so the fact that that's who you are, it means that they automatically buy into a coach who it loves what she does, right? And you said, like, oh, it was when you said the taxes. I was like, hold on, wait a minute now. We've entered a whole different stratosphere because somebody right now is at their corporate job right now, and they're like, okay, so how do I get into Airbnb? Now, the way that I got into Airbnb was not thinking about it as a business. It wasn't thinking about it as even as the hospitality industry. It was super off from what you're talking about. Even setting expectations, thinking about the tax implications between real estate versus Airbnb. All of this stuff is now we're getting into a level of setting up your business properly, and I'm just curious if that is in as a part of your course, or is it like they already have? So talk about that. How does a person go from no business to like being an Airbnb host?
So that's the very first thing that we handle in our course is teaching you how to set up your business from start to finish, how to set up your LLC, get your EIN number, build business credit, all that stuff. Because like I said, like we talked about earlier, if you don't have that foundation, you can't get to the roof.
Yes.
So that's the very first thing that we knock out the way, because legalities is always going to take the longest. So by the time you've gotten through the course, your business is already structured. And then also our mentees, there we go, I was looking for the word. Our mentees, they get access to our tax strategist, the person that we personally use. So they get access to her, and she's a beast. So she will tell you exactly when tax season comes around. She'll tell you exactly what she needs. But also outside of tax season, during the year, she teaches you how to plan. So if you get to a point where it's like, okay, we might need to, if you get to that point where it's like, okay, we might need to buy some property to offset these taxes, or we need to buy a car or something to offset what's going on in your business, she's going to tell you that. But what I love about her is she teaches you why. A lot of people, they go get tax strategists, they go get all these different things, and
they don't know how to do it themselves.
They don't know how to do it themselves, so they're not able, if somebody is taking some money up from under them, they're not able to recognize it. Right. Because they don't know what's going on or how it should be done. So she teaches us along the way, and she'll tell us, look, this is what this code says, or this is what, and this is why I'm doing it this way. So that way I have a basic understanding. So if ever, God forbid, knock on every piece of wood up in this place, if ever I need to do something myself or I have to go a separate way, I understand and I know what I should be looking for. A lot of people, they file their business as a real estate business, and that's one of the highest tax brackets you can pay. Real estate, especially, is so expensive. Yeah. And I always tell people, use a general outline. Okay, so we can definitely get into like that right there. I think that's already a gem. So, and I don't want to put us on like this tax show, but I think it's already important for you to understand, like, not only is it am I understanding the differences between real estate and like a general umbrella, but you're also going to go from a different tax bracket as an employee if you're doing Airbnb on the side versus if you're full-time running an Airbnb, right? Right. So she would be able to assist with this as well. And she'll tell you, like, especially because last year I filed my taxes by myself before we brought her onto our team. Filed my taxes by myself, and she was like, what did you do? Oh, shoot. She was just like, no. And she ended up having to amend my taxes and ended up getting me about $8,000 more than what I was supposed to get. Okay. That alone, I was like, all right, you're part of the team now. Hey, sis. Yeah. Right. So, from that point on, I was like, I'm never going back to TurboTax because I just can't. Yeah. Like, and you losing out on money because you don't understand all the different tax breaks and all that kind of stuff. So. Let's talk about trying to do it on our own. I know you have students who are trying to do it on their own, or they've done Airbnb. Maybe somebody like me who's like, oh, I've done my 3 properties. I know a thing or two. You know good and well. You coming into this, So first of all, the reason I say doing it on your own is because you're analytical like me. So it's like, we can do a lot of things on our own. But one thing that I've understood more and more as an entrepreneur is that you can't do it alone. No. You know what I mean? Like, you really can't. You shouldn't do it alone. And the more people who are
more analytical in these other areas, the better off you are, because then you can just focus on what you're really good at, which is being analytical and travel. Right. I'm thinking about the students who are coming in and they're trying to figure out how to like pick up the pace. What's some of the biggest barriers that keep people from being successful in your course or in your program?
One of the things, and this I learned from my own journey, our own journey, is the looking into other lanes and looking at other people and how fast they're moving and everything else. Scoreboard watching, there you go, that's the word I was looking for. Scoreboard watching is one of the fastest and surest ways to failing, because now it's just like when you're on the road. Yes, you have to be paying attention to other people, you have to be defensive driving and stuff, but you have to pay attention to your lane. Because if I'm looking over here for too long, I'm going to end up steering and crashing, and it's going to be a problem. Right? And that's what a lot of people do, and that's what I actually started to do in the beginning of our business. People that started in the same course that we started in, and they already got 5, 10 Airbnbs and all this other stuff in their first couple of months. I was like, what are we doing wrong? What are we doing wrong? Like, what's going on? I expected to be in this place and da 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 da. And I saw a reel on Instagram where somebody had said, I forget who it was, but he was the same exact way. And this is what made it click for me. He said he was the same exact way at one point, where he used to be like, well, why are they getting so much success and da da da. And then one day he started thinking to himself, if God is starting to bless the people around me, that means that he's in the neighborhood. So it's only a matter of time before he gets to my door.
That's huge.
And that, for me, I was like, okay,
my time is coming.
Right. And that made it easier for me to start praising and celebrating other people when they started getting their wins.
Oh, that's so huge.
Because I used to be like,
salty.
Yes. I'll be sitting there, be like, yo, we just got our third Airbnb. I'll be like, we haven't got our first yet. What is going on? Look.
Okay, so scoreboard watcher, come into the community, take whatever your wins are in, and then also cheer others on while they're there, instead of feeling jealous or entitled to someone else's success, right? I'm really like, I'm thinking that is a mindset shift in itself. So I'm really realizing that in order to be successful in anything, like it continues to like come, and this lesson comes and comes again. But in order to be successful in anything, we have to keep our head on straight, right? All of the systems are set up for us to succeed. And if you created a system in Airbnb for someone to actually follow, all they have to do is just take the courses, show up to the DM community, show up to the meeting, the mentorship, do the things, do all the things. So when it comes to a person who will be successful, like scoreboard watching from a student vantage point, obviously it's going to get me distracted. But as a instructor, and you looking at all these different students, what is who's the course perfect for? You know what I'm saying? Like, who goes through the course and you're like, oh, I know they're gonna be a success. They already got all the criteria to be success. Okay, this person's gonna trip up a little bit. I can see it.
I see it coming. let's try to steer away from this.
You know, like who's the perfect fit for your course?
The perfect fit, the person that is a perfect fit, you have a heart for people. Like I said before, this is a hospitality industry. So if you are not the type of person, if you're the type of person that's going to have something to say every time a guest has a complaint or has a question, negative. We gotta get that personality together first. So having a heart for people. If you are somebody that moves fast, I know every entrepreneur has heard it before, success loves speed. So if you are a person that you take in the knowledge and you move and you implement, it's going to be perfect. But then you also have to know what you want and what to expect. So a lot of people get into the Airbnb space and they see these people who are making hundreds of $1,000s a month, But what they don't understand is those people also have 50, 100, 150 properties to make that $100,000 a month. When they get into it, they hear, okay, it's you're getting more of a return because you don't physically own the property. But what they don't understand is you have to grow your portfolio. So understanding and setting your expectations correctly will help you succeed as well.
That's huge. Thank you. I'm seeing the similarities of like real estate. When you say grow your portfolio, I see why people might get it mistaken.
Right.
But it sounds like the nuances, if you try to apply real estate strategies to what it is that you do, you might mess up. So I think that's really dope that you specifically decided to target people who are going to be in Airbnb, because there are nuances that may seem like, but you're going to get steered straight if you don't.
And don't get me wrong, like there's certain parts of real estate that definitely does cross, like knowing your market. Like when you say that to people, they'll be like, oh, okay. But a market where is like one of our properties is heavily populated with hospitals. So the market is more so travel nurses, doctors, and things of that nature versus a tourist who might be coming to go see the Falcons or something, you know? And granted, we have the Ravens stadium that's not too far but from our property, but most of our demographic is healthcare workers. So we have to make sure that we're targeting that kind of market. So like that's one of the nuances, that when people say market, when it comes to real estate, you're more so thinking residential.
Yep, you like, thinking about the schools, and you're thinking about how close are the grocery stores, these things like that. But a travel nurse is different considerations. Right.
And a tourist is not, more so a travel nurse will definitely want a supermarket near them. But a tourist, they're not thinking about that. They want to know where all the attractions at. They want to know where's the best places to eat and all those things. So that it's like you have to understand the difference in when we say you understand your market versus when a real estate agent says understand the market. So.
You got to take your lens off and get that I know it already out of the way.
That's why you have a coach. That's why you get a mentor.
So when you think about success stories, the ones that come back to me a year after I've coached them is like, dang, like that was
remember when,
you know, especially when you might have been coaching in a space where it's like close teetering on that depression side. You like, I didn't feel like I was 100%, but I gave it my all. What are some of the like experiences that you've had as a coach in this space that like really speak to the kind of results that you want to continue to do?
You know what I love, and this is not even just for my business, for our coaching and everything else. I love the failure stories. I love when people come back and they say, this is what I did wrong, this is why I didn't succeed, but this is how I learned and this is how I adjusted. Because champions adjust. So, and that to me is a success story where it's like, okay, I taught you how to be able to pivot. I taught you how to be able to take on whatever hardships, and now you understand how to move forward. So for me, that's like, yes, you got it. Because I can give you the roadmap, but you're really not going to learn anything if you don't hit your own speed bumps. So.
Ooh, that's huge. I like that. Thank you.
Of course.
I can say this all day. So before we get out of here, there's something that I've been wanting to touch on, and I'm glad I didn't forget this as well, because you mentioned ministry, and I think that word is starting to mean more to me as I get older and as I understand my faith with God. And so you mentioned that you do a ministry with young mothers, which I think, I mean, I've known you as a mom since I've known you. But maybe I didn't know how big that was, how much of a passion that is to you. So what is it that inspires you to serve in that way?
My own journey, going through my own journey and needing a group of people and not having it. I was like, I have to do my own due diligence to make sure as many single moms as possible do not go through what I went through. Especially when it comes to the Black community. A lot of single moms, they go through postpartum depression and they don't get the help that they need. A lot of single moms, they struggle financially or whatever the case may be, and I've been there. Like, entrepreneurship ain't easy. There are moments where I had to decide which bill I was going to pay. So going through my own journey and understanding how it felt to have that lack of support, I was like, I want to be able to help others. But the thing about it is I didn't start helping others until it was time for me to. So when I became a single mom, I started to get this little fire in me, because there were days where I would hold my little newborn baby and I was crying my eyes out. And I was sitting on the couch trying to figure out, how am I going to do it? Every single phone call I would make from MLM, and I'm getting no after no, and I'm just sitting here crying like, I just need one yes for today. Those moments started to build that fire for me. And then I started to have this yearning to want to help and teach single moms at my church, but it never felt like the right time until this past spring, when we had the spring semester. So this past spring was finally, it was like, without hesitation, go for it. The last 2 years, it was like, it was kind of like a kind of thing. And then I heard it. And a lot of people that are faith-based, they don't understand that God's voice is like a volume. You can either turn it all the way up or you can turn it down. And I didn't have it turned up enough until this year, where I clearly heard, yes, it's time. And when I heard that, instantly I signed up, set up my class, did the curriculum, and I was like, let's go. And a lot of moms, I had many moms that signed up, but I only had one single mom that was consistent. But the impact that she told me I made on her was enough for me.
Ministry. That is so huge. Knowing the parts of yourself to share through service, through entrepreneurship, through motherhood, and all these different people and identities that you have in yourself. It's really dope.
Thank you.
It's really dope. I think that, we've gone through your journey. We could easily pinpoint some challenges. We can easily pinpoint some of the successes. And the through line of it all, it's kind of like faith. You know what I mean? As much as it's the best mix between faith and works. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Because as much as you have faith, you still were doing the things. You know what I mean?
Faith without work is dead.
It's dead. It's the perfect combination. So now that you're in this space, this new journey, what are you excited for? What are you excited to build? How do you see yourself? Are we connecting the dots between your hair empire and your hospitality empire? What's next?
Look, I almost was on my B. Simone for a little bit, because I was like, I just hit 30 this year. And I was like, I want to be a millionaire before 30. I was about to be like B. Simone and be like, I'm about to pull out all the tricks. I'm about to be braided hair again. And I was like, something was like, no. That's not your journey. That's not how you want to hit your million. And so for this next year, I'm excited to build out this community. I'm excited. My goal is to help 100 single moms to be able to build their empire, their Airbnb empire, and live the lifestyle that they are meant to live. So that is my goal.
Come on. You can't end no better than that. You dropping the mic.
Look.
You literally, this was a treat. Like, this was 100% a treat.
Like, a treat for me. This was awesome.
I'm excited. Thank you.
Of course, thank
you. So much. Girl, y'all, listen. Okay, so now there are people who are interested in getting into your course, right? Okay. So we got to do something sweet for them.
Of course.
First of all, how do people get into your course? How do they get into the program? What's the process? What's all the deal?
So first and foremost, you guys, of course, I am providing Ariel with the link, so it will be in the description.
Y'all know I had to go for it. We got to. You gotta get paid. Yes.
But on top of that, we are providing you guys with a 30% discount on the course.
Let's go.
So they will be able to go ahead and get the course, and it is self-paced. A lot of people, they get into courses and it's either with a class or whatever the case may be. It's self-paced, so for people that say, I don't have the time, you have the time. Whether you are on the way to work, whether you're on lunch, whether you're a single mom and the kids are down for a nap, you have the time. You just have to find it. So that's it. And then, of course, you can follow me Instagram, TikTok, all my social media is the same at always Nella.
Always.
Always.
Not sometimes.
Not never. Always. But definitely.
I love it. Always Nella. So so everything is on Always Nella. If you guys are interested, there will also be a link in the description below for you to go ahead and get into the course from there. And if y'all need like questions or anything like that, can they reach out to you?
Yeah.
Come into the do what you need to do to level up. Because I think when that snap happens, when you need to snap out of it, or when you receive the blessing, which I think 30% is a dope blessing, and you heed the call, take that raft, take that lifeline, and do what you got to do to change your life.
Yes, most definitely. Don't let the color fool you. Just go ahead and take it.
Come on. Until next time. First of all, is there anything that we didn't cover before I get up out of here?
Girl, we covered so much. I don't think so.
We did. All right, y'all. So you have everything that you need to get up out of here and be great. All right? Click the link in the bio. Check out Always Nella. Until next time, see you in the next episode.
See y'all.
Peace.